Hey, so I have a really great idea for you and a little bit of update on my Amazon FBA business. I've been doing a lot of coaching calls and a lot of students or even people that come into my Instagram DMs, whatever it may be, they really have a really common problem, and that is finances and having capital to fund their Amazon FBA business. And I know that money is a very difficult thing, and sometimes you really don't want to invest so much cash into a product, or maybe you're looking at markets that look like they have really high revenue and you really want a piece of that pie, but you hear people talking about you have to at least have 1,000 units that you have to order to make this business. If you want to take it seriously, I hear that all the time, or that you need like thousands and thousands of dollars. And that's actually not true. If you're a student in my Amazon course, you know that I like to teach things low risk. And that's because I understand that one of the hardest parts is to really take the next step. And that usually is paying your supplier and actually buying inventory, because now you actually have to put down your cash, and that's when things get real. And I know people have different finances. Maybe you have a family, or you're paying off loans or debt, or you're working different jobs. I know not everyone is in a place where they can invest thousands of dollars, and you really don't need to, okay? You're not going to be, I mean, some people do. Some people put in a lot of money and they get back a really great profitable product, but there is a lot of risk with that, and I want to kind of contain the risk, and I want to give some ideas for that. So I'm going to show you a product research way, and if you have a lower budget, how you can start Amazon FBA with a lower budget and still scale and be successful once you already see traction. So this is something I haven't done yet. This is something I want to do, and I'll just kind of do a quick thing before I get into it, and that's expanding into international markets such as the UK, Canada, or Germany. Those are the top 3 that I've been looking at right now. They have still demand, not as much competition, so that makes it really good. However, the problem is the demand is a lot lower than it is in the US market. So you have 2 choices. If you have smaller capital, you are able to, of course, find products within the US marketplace that are less investment, which means you can launch them with just pay-per-click ads. They have less reviews. Maybe it's a smaller, lighter product that you can launch, and it's not something that's really complicated or has too much competition and that you need to order too many units. Something that, you know, is smaller and less upfront cost, something you can test the market with 200, 300, even, or anything less than 500 units, and you can still be successful in this. And actually, one of my first products, I only ordered 300 MOQ, and that seems crazy to some people that teach this model as you have to buy at least 1,000, otherwise you're not taking this seriously. I completely disagree with that. I think that, you know, you can get your foot in the door and see success with a product with just ordering small units. And if you see actual success and returns, and yeah, maybe you'll have cash flow issues, but at least now you know that if you keep reinvesting back into this product or a different product, then you're going to see returns. Maybe at that point you can get a loan from wherever you, even that's completely up to you. It's your business, it's your finances. Maybe you can get a loan for a family or friend, or even a bank or some other way, but at least you know that this is a successful product. But people that say, you know, go into this model, forget everything, buy 1,000 units, spend like 5, 10, 15 thousands of dollars, otherwise you're not a real business owner. That just doesn't make sense. Where in 2020, the internet age is so evolved, there's so many opportunities to be successful with such minimal cash that there's no reason why you shouldn't take those opportunities. And what I mentioned earlier is international markets, because although they have less demand and you won't see crazy numbers such as like 20K, unless it is a competitive product, you don't need to invest that much money. I was doing some calculation, and I was actually doing product research in international markets, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, but I just found it interesting just to brainstorm the scalability of this. For example, let's say even that you found a product and it's making like 2,500 a month of revenue. This isn't even profit, right? And let's say you're operating at like 30% profit margin, which puts you at a $750 of net income, net profits a month, right? Let's times that by 12, which is 12 months. That's an extra 9 grand per year, okay? And that's bare minimum, like a 30% profit margin. What if you have more? What if you have a product that you premium and bundle and you can have a higher price, so that this could be a lot more. But this is just one product. If you do this with 5 products, that's 45K a year with 5 products that are only doing 2,500 in revenue. That's a very small number. And the cool thing is that I was doing this research in these international markets and I found a lot of products. I would show you my notebook that's over there, but I put together a list of like 12 products that I took through phase 1. If you're in my course, you know what phase 1, what phase 2 is. I take my products through several phases to really validate that they're going to actually make me money. I'm not going to lose any money on them. That's what I teach all my students. But I mean, I took about 13 products through phase 1. I even went back on some of my list of product ideas or potential products that just didn't make the cut in the US, and I looked them up in the international markets, and they actually showed to potentially be doing quite well. So that's actually something that I want to do for this coming year in 2020, is expand into different markets. I'll keep you posted into which countries I go and what type of products I do. Not the exact product, of course, but kind of the general process, because I think it's a really cool opportunity for this. I think it's a great goal. So let's actually get into the computer so I can show you how you can begin to do your product research if you're trying to look into international markets. So right now I'm in Helium 10, which is one of the softwares I use for product research. So there's really a lot of ways you can do it. Of course, if you're doing it product research internationally, don't type in Amazon.com. You want to, whichever market, they have their own dot whatever ending. So let's go to magnets in Helium 10. And this is kind of a way, has been my favorite way of finding products. And by the way, if you haven't tried this software out, it's amazing. You can go to my link down below. I have a 50% off coupon code for the first month if you're new to this, or 10% off every reoccurring month, which is great if you are planning on doing product research, and it just saves you money, which is not bad. So you can click that down below, or just use the coupon code Karina50 or Karina10 to get that discount. So basically, the way I like to do research here is I like to type in a word, depending on what category, just anything that comes to my head. Maybe it's teaching supplies, school supplies, sports and outdoors, just general keywords, and then sort through the other keywords that Magnet pulls up for me to see what kind of products I can find that just sound really interesting, right? But the cool thing about here is this little tab, and that allows you to search into international markets. So actually what I do is I literally just open 2 of the same windows, and I like to search for 2 markets at a time. So let's say we do Canada for one, and then the second one we do the United Kingdom. So notice how the UK one is amazon.co.uk, the Canada one is amazon.ca. So I like to open both, and I like to kind of cross-reference, because this is gonna give me the search volume for certain products, and then when I actually put them in and open them into Amazon, I'll see their actual revenues. And I found it interesting that some search terms that I pull up, and even though they have a higher search volume in, let's say, the UK market, when I actually plug that data into the Canada market, even though the search volume of that specific word is lower, the sales and the revenue is much, much higher, which is really interesting. And I think if you kind of like cross-reference in these markets, you'll find really profitable products. And since you're looking into 2 different markets and kind of like intertwining them, I think you'll find a lot of opportunities that most people aren't seeing. And if you want an actual full detailed video on this, maybe I'll make one in the future, but I just found this way to be very interesting, and it's a great product research way. So I just like to put in teaching supplies. I just think of this word, it's the most simple one that comes into my head. So I'm gonna put teaching supplies here and get keywords and see what this pops up for me. And then, like always, I sort them from highest to lowest volume, and you'll see that the search volumes for these markets are going to be much lower. So even teaching supplies only has a search volume of 11. Remember, these markets aren't as advanced as the Amazon in the USA, but that's the whole point, because that means they're not as competitive. Even the term whiteboard only has 12,000 searches, while in the US market, it probably has like 12 times not 12 times, I mean like 5 or 10 times the search volume. So what I like to do is kind of scroll and see what interesting things come up, and kind of cross-reference the search volume. And just because it's low doesn't mean that it's not going to be profitable. What's a turning tumble? I don't know what that is, so I'm gonna click into it and see what this is. So this looks quite interesting. It looks like a kid toy, but it's coming up for teaching supplies. So what I'm gonna do is actually run the helium-10 extension, the x-ray, to see the revenue. So as I'm looking here, I like to look at the numbers first, right? It's not really as stable as I would like it to be if it was in the US market, but it's interesting to me that even one seller, this one right here, is making $6,000 of revenue a month, and someone else is making $2,800 and $2,900. So some people are profiting, and $3,000. So that's interesting. Maybe this isn't the perfect product, but it is something that just makes you think, because even with such a low demand, what if you found a niche that had a little bit more revenue across the board, and you could, or maybe you can, even isolate that one seller and see why is he doing so well. Maybe he is the only one that answered a customer demand that was a huge issue and he fixed it. Maybe he's the only one that actually put effort into his listing, and that's why he's standing out. What if you could go in there and put in more effort? Then people could prefer you. And I find this so interesting because the barrier of entry is so low in this case that I'm really curious to really give this a go. And then what I actually would do is I take this and I try this in the UK market. So right now I'm in the Canada market. So let's go amazon.co.uk. And I'll actually put the exact same search into here because I didn't find this. So now this is completely different. So that's interesting. So see how different the markets are. But let's find another product so I can give you a better example. So even let's go to bulletin board, okay? This is just a simple bulletin board in the US marketplace. This will have many more reviews, and I'm curious what the revenue is on this product. So like I said, see, some people are making good money here, 6,000, 3,000, 4,000. It's quite okay. And if you compare it to the reviews, they're very low. All of them are pretty much at lower than 100. So let's actually take this and see how the market looks for the UK market. Maybe it's more stable here. And if you do this kind of cross-referencing, it's potential, like I mentioned earlier, you can find a really unique product because most people are just sticking to one market. But if you cross-reference these markets, that's just something super unique that pretty much no one is doing. So I think you should try this out on your product research. I literally do not think a single person is doing this. I'm not joking. So let's let this load for a second. So, and then here you can see kind of the total revenue too and compare it. So what was it here? That just tells you, so 19,000, right? So 19,000 in demand. Let's see what this pops up here. But even these numbers, like even though it's not, as I said, as crazy as the US market, these aren't bad. What if you could be a person with even 3,000? See right here, total revenue, this one is higher than the Canada market we just looked at. So the demand is higher here. So maybe you can, even though we found this word in the Canada market, now we took it over to the UK market and we're seeing that the revenue is more here, and even the reviews are crazy low. So that's just something to consider. Your barrier of entry for these types of markets will be much lower. So really think about this. Try doing some product research with this way and see what you can come up with. I think it would be really beneficial, especially if you have lower capital and if you still want to get your foot in the door. Again, it doesn't have to be in international markets. It can be in the US market too. You just have to do more digging, but try it out. And if you're curious about my program and my one-on-one coaching, anything, all the links that are down below, and also follow me on Instagram, subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you next time.